Welcome to Tavern Talk by Initial Reaction. I'm your host this week, Danner Rogers, with
Tim Yant. It's good to see you guys.
And we're talking about a sequel to Spider-Man, Spider-Man 2. Sam Raimi brings it again.
Dude, nuts. I could not believe the CGI on Doc Ock's legs. Couldn't believe it.
And Tobey Maguire, perfect Peter Parker. I don't think there'll ever be another one.
That's wrong Spider-Man 2.
Oh, are you talking about the one with Jamie Foxx?
Welcome to Tavern Talk by Initial Reaction. I'm your host this week, Danner Rogers, with Tim Yant. How are you, man?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. We are filling in this week for Philip Price, who brought baby Kipton home this week. Mom and baby are doing well, and we hope them back soon.
Yeah, absolutely.
We are watching Spider-Man Far From Home this week, and let's get started. Initial reaction, Tim.
Nuts. It was so good, man. I don't even know where to start. It was probably my favorite Spider-Man movie. Last year with Into the Spider-Verse, I was like, this is the best movie of the year. You can make fun of me all you want for it being an animated movie. I don't even care. I love Spider-Man. But
Right.
this one topped it, I think.
No, so I will go ahead and confess, Into the Spider-Verse was my number one movie of last year too. Maybe it's because I've watched it 100 times with a 6-year-old and a 2-year-old, but I loved it.
I don't have a 6 or a 2-year-old. I just watched it 100
Just a
times
lot of
by
explaining
myself.
to do.
Yeah.
But I will tell you, this is my favorite Spider-Man movie as well. I heard some
Yeah.
critics saying that going in, and I was a little nervous about Prisoner of the Moment. I was a little nervous about where do we go from Endgame.
Sure.
And Kevin Feige and everybody just brought it. John Watts shows up. The direction in the movie I thought was great. What is something when you think about the movie that jumps off the screen right off to you?
Well, actually, the first just opening scene, talking about right off the screen, man, that Whitney Houston tribute to Tony Stark and just
Right.
recently, deceased with Endgame. I mean, hopefully we can talk about spoiler.
If you do
bans
not
and
know
lists and-
Tony Stark is dead by this point, you are watching the wrong review.
Wrong movie.
Yeah.
Wrong movie. So yeah, I mean, just right out of the gate, that one got me. I was like, this is a really good tribute for old Tony Stark, and then just dude, the music, the score, the soundtrack, it was all good. The shots were awesome.
So initially we open up and we're back at high school, and I love how they brought that news crew in, and it's so funny. I don't know if your high school had the news crew, ours didn't,
No,
but it's
we
that
didn't.
same awkward teenager, no training. You probably got an audio visual
Moving the
teacher.
shot,
Yes,
yeah.
and it was perfect. The shots, the cuts for the tribute were terrible, and it looked great. But then Tim leaned over to me during the score, and you talked about how much he loved it, and I think it's great too. The fact that they mix in the '60s original Spider-Man theme throughout is just
cool.
it's wonderful.
So another thing, talking about just the school and all of that stuff that really stuck out to me. I was really worried about after Endgame. Hey, what are we going to do with this 5-year gap? All of these kids were blipped back into existence, and then now they're just 5 years in the future.
Right.
Like, how is this going to work? And they did a really good job of explaining kind of how that, it's a weird situation, but we have to move on with our lives and continue to go. And with the news crew, just right out of the gate talking about it. Yeah, it was good.
And I think there's not another superhero you could have done that with, because we're talking about high school kids. They move on fast anyway.
Yeah.
Grief to an adult. You see that later with Happy.
Sure.
And I think if you'd have made any other movie, you'd have seen some grief the film would have had to have been heavy. But when you're talking about high school kids, the fact that they showed the snap, or now it's called the blip, and it's a marching band sequence, and then the marching band just shows right back up in the middle of a basketball game, it's hilarious.
Yeah,
And so when you take the heaviness from Endgame and they step into this realm of humor, I was afraid that maybe we were going too far with that, but they pull it up. John Watts pulls it off perfectly here. I thought Jacob Batalon as Ned, bringing that continual comedic relief, did a wonderful job. And I will tell you, we not only have the best Spider-Man, but Tom Holland's the best Peter Parker. I mean, it embodies the character throughout.
100%. I completely agree. I really liked Tobey Maguire. Wasn't a huge fan of the Amazing Spider-Man series. It was okay, but Tom Holland just nails it every single time. Every time he puts on the mask, every time he puts on the school T-shirt, like he is Peter Parker, and it was great. And just asking you about kind of the stakes for me in the beginning felt really low, even though it's a superhero movie. They're talking about, oh, this is going to be the end of the world. We need somebody to save us. They still felt low to me. And I don't know if that was because I'm expecting, oh, it's Mysterio, like what's going to happen, or if it's just kind of the elemental side of it. We just don't know. But they felt low. But then the good thing about that was as the movie went on, they kept increasing exponentially, and it was great. I really like that about it.
Yeah, and I thought Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio, without getting any spoilers, was perfect. He's an amazing actor for a reason. And when I saw that they had brought him in to play Mysterio, just to the MCU bringing that caliber of an actor over and over with Brie Larson, Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, they've continued to do it. We can go down the list there, but
sure,
he really brought it in this movie. And he made you really buy into that character. That's one of like this fanciful illusion.
Yeah.
So it's hard. You brought up that it's hard to buy into that and see how they're going to do it. And they did it perfect. I don't want to let any of that go in this part of the review.
Right. Yeah.
But it was really wonderful. And so I'll go ahead and ask you, what's your star rating on this?
Oh man, 5 stars for me. I got to do it. I love Spider-Man. I grew up watching Spider-Man as a kid, and I think that's really why this one has stuck with me more than the other Spider-Man movies. Spider-Mans.
It's up for debate.
They were Spider-Man, but like with the Sam Raimi ones, he's shooting organic web shooters and the cartoon for me, and so I took a lot of that going into it. And Spider-Man was always my favorite character growing up, of course, until Iron Man came out and just took over the world. But yeah, they really nailed it. So I got to go 5 stars. Like they nailed it.
I was hoping to argue with you this week since Philip wasn't here and we could have some debate. But I'm going to go 5 stars too. If you have kids, I'd say start around the age, above 5 and up.
Yeah, sure.
There's a little bit of language.
Stuff.
There is some parts that are a little dark, and so I would maybe anything younger than 5 or 5 below would stay away from.
Or bring them because they were in our theater.
Yes, and so, but definitely if you're out at the movies, before we get into spoilers, I urge you to go out and check it out while it's in the big screen. It's something that you need to finish the Infinity Saga, and you definitely need to check it out at a movie tavern.
Yeah.
They've got everything you want under one. They've got great food, great drinks, a great time. We both reclined
right to the seat.
Right.
Didn't have to wait in a line. Just press the
refills.
Button.
It was an enjoyable experience. It's a great place to be. The staff, they were very courteous here. It's an awesome place. So go check it out. And this is the point I'm going to tell you. If you don't want the movie spoiled, you need to change the channel.
See you later. Do it. Get out of here.
All right. This is the spoiler portion of our review.
Pumped.
So I'm going to tell you the turn for Mysterio to go to the villain happened a lot sooner than I expected.
Absolutely. I was thinking last half an hour maybe.
Right.
You see like theories and stuff like that and you're wondering, but yeah, I was thinking last 30 minutes and it was probably the first 45.
Right. I looked at my watch and I was like, we've got more than half this movie left and the turn's already happened. And they laid that groundwork they laid, that you have a group of people that were scorned by Stark, who the rest of the world is now painting murals of and adores. It really gives him some motivation and some stakes as to what he's doing. And Marvel does a really good job of painting these. They're not just two-dimensional villains.
Right.
You see where they're coming from.
Sure.
Whether it's Killmonger, Thanos,
even Whiplash from Iron Man 2. Who, that's not the best Marvel movie.
But he has motivation.
He was, multi-level character. We saw where he's coming from and had at least a little bit of feeling for the guy. Absolutely Mysterio, multi-level. And what I thought was super cool was they're not introducing new tech. It's already tech that exists within the MCU, and they're just showing you, hey, this is how it could have been used if it had not been really kind of made fun of, even by Tony Stark.
Right. And so Mysterio, the first battle that that Spider-Man has with Mysterio when you know who he is, that trippy scene where he's throwing illusion on top of illusion, Marvel has done a good job by putting some comic book scenes. One big scene, Spider-Man in Homecoming when he's got the rubble on his shoulders. But this to me was almost an entire book of page after page,
Yes.
you know, and it was wonderful.
It really, so we talked about Into the Spider-Verse earlier and how that was my favorite movie of last year. And one of the things was just kind of how they brought in the comic book frames from it and the words going across the screen was super cool. And this one felt like, just like you said, like a comic book as well. And that trippy scene, man, that mind-bendy scene in that first fight, it was absolutely nuts. When Tony Stark climbs up out of the grave and it's just in the Iron Man suit, I lost it. I was like, this is insane. And then with I just lost my train of thought. It was so good.
Yeah, and that continues on. The vibrant colors when he changes his
Yes.
suits, you have some fun. Happy keys the AC/DC, and you're taken back to the first Iron Man, and it's so reminiscent to where we started. To in the Infinity Saga, in the same way of this character really finding themselves and gaining their footing, was really great. And so we're going to get deep into a spoiler here. That first cutscene, mid-credits.
Yes.
What's your initial reaction now that we all know who Spider-Man is?
Man, like the avenues they can go with this, the threat that it's going to pose to Peter Parker, and not only Peter Parker, but his family and his friends, and his step-appy. It's just, I think now that they have that out, the cat's out of the bag, two things come to mind. Cody brought up earlier that at the end of the first one, Aunt May finds out in the post-credit scene, and then in this one, the whole world finds out. But so that comes to mind, and then also at the end of the first Iron Man movie, he says, "Hey, I'm Iron Man," and so the whole world knows who he is. And if Tony Stark was grooming Peter Parker, and he gives him the glasses, and he's going to be the next Iron Man, maybe the world has to know.
And I think Marvel did a great job with the symmetry there. I am Iron Man, Peter Parker is Spider-Man, and it's great that J.K. Simmons, you weren't kidding, in the open there, he does show back up, and it's great to see him, back with a weirder haircut. I don't know what's going on there, but it was fun to see him. A little older. Yeah. And I wonder if he's still bowed from working out. He was working out for the Batman for a while. There's a lot of pictures out there on the internet, so when he gets in the fight. But the final cutscene we get is we realize the Skrulls have been working for some amount of time as Fury and Hill. So we don't know how long that happens. We assume that it was after Endgame.
Yeah, I was trying to figure that out when they came in. Because I think there's some space in there where we just aren't sure.
So So Fury's in space with the rest of the Skrulls. We assume looking for somewhere to live,
or chilling in front of a fake beach,
or fighting some cosmic threat out there, which is exciting. We know that they're going to head in a cosmic realm here, and so with Guardians 3 and moving on.
I can't wait to see where it goes, just because I feel like Endgame was such a perfect little bow on top of the first 4 phases of the Marvel MCU, but now they've just kind of blown the doors open, and the possibilities are just endless.
And so it definitely, if you were worried about what was going to happen after Endgame, I will tell you the universe is in great hands. It's in Spider-Man's hands. More importantly, Kevin Feige's, John Watts, they continue to bring great directors in to do these movies. And we both gave it 5 stars. I'm also going to give the movie Tavern 5 stars again. If you are looking for a one-of-a-kind experience, come check us out. Come eat here, get some food, get some drinks, enjoy a film, lay back and relax. And I want to thank Tim for joining us this week. And we will see you soon, and we hope we see Philip back soon. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe, follow, retweet, hashtag initial reaction, hashtag movie Tavern Talk. Thanks for joining us.
See you next time.